We work because we want to work. We work because the economy is shit. We work because we have hopes and dreams, aspirations, ambitions. Honestly, if you're an independent working mother, your husband leaving you is also like the least of your concern.
Kisah pula aku.
Kisah pula angkat kaki, angkat lah.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Athena Effects the series. Today we'll be diving in on how to juggle motherhood and your personal and professional ambition. We have here with us is Shafiqah Othman, our influencer, I would say. She is a writer, an activist, and an advocate of women's rights, but she is also a mother and a wife who has her own ambition. So please welcome Shafiqah into our episode today.
Thank you for having me here today. Hi everyone.
Maybe a little bit introduction about what you do and how old is your child?
As you have already introduced me, my name is Shafiqah. I am a mother, a wife. I'm currently serving macam military. I'm currently serving as the creative director of Zeus Coffee, and I have a daughter. Her name is Akila, and she is currently 4 years old this year.
In this episode today, we will explore and discuss the challenges for a working mother on how they needs to, to go to work and then get back with the child. You will be here to discuss the strategy and the challenges. And especially societal pressure.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
We will also go into some of the opinions on Twitter about working mothers.
Okay. Sure.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's go. Oh, I forgot. Okay. Our topic, our title for today is Diapers and Dreams. So diapers as in motherhood and dreams as in your
personal dreams.
Personal dreams, yes. When you first saw my deck, what was Diapers and Dream to you?
It's basically the same as apa yang you dah cakap. The image that I have in my head was when I first gave birth to her, and then I started working at a new job. People usually have a maternity leave for like 3 months.
Now it's 3 months.
I
think masa you is 2 months.
Around there lah. But I actually started working again after 3 weeks. Because when I was in labour, I was already towards the end of my tenure in my previous job. So when I finally gave birth to, I dah tak ada kerja. So when I finally got a job, I wanted to start kalau boleh as soon as possible. I guess that was a fault on my part juga because I didn't give myself enough time. But the work that I started at that time allowed me to work from home. So that's why I'm macam, okay lah, I can start within 3 weeks. So when I read the title Diapers and Dreams, it reminded me of the time when I used to stay up really, really late nights. You know, when we first start motherhood, dengan rasa bengkak, dengan masih berdarah, like you're still healing and all of that. I am working on the laptop at 3 a.m, tengah pump, and then I hear my daughter tengah nangis, and then nak kena tukar pampers. Like the first few months of motherhood for me at that time was very
chaotic.
Oh, it was very chaotic. I like now when I think about it, the image that I have in my head is just bilik yang gelap, because I used to always work late nights, like pumping, working, and then nak kena jaga because every few hours kan, the child will wake up, like, and then you have to breastfeed semua kan. Now that she's older, it's easier, I guess.
Dia boleh main sendiri.
Yeah. She knows how to layan diri sendiri lah.
Main, anak I suka cakap sorang-sorang.
Sama.
Kadang-kadang dia tengok dia main dengan the toys.
Yes, macam
the plushies. Main macam tu. Like pretend play macam. Okay, that's good for your development. Tapi macam kesian pula kadang-kadang.
Tapi for me, thankfully, because I do stay with my parents, so she does have people to teman her at home lah. And for the first few years of her life, my husband also was exclusively working from home. That was a huge help to us juga lah.
So he was the stay-at-home father.
Yes, at that point he was the stay-at-home father for like the first few years juga lah.
Okay. The issue, the challenges for you at the time is just that to pump.
It was mostly getting used to motherhood because I, like before we started this recording, I told you before this, I didn't like children. So the mother instinct didn't come to me naturally. I had to learn how to love my daughter. So I remember my mom used to tell me before I gave birth, oh, it's going to be painful semua, and all the normal things about childbirth. And then after that she said, but it's okay. The moment you hold anak you in your arms, pain will go away. Like it's going to be worth it. So I was looking forward to that.
But it
But
didn't
then
happen.
when I held her in my arms, the first thing in my head, and I tell this story to everyone, the first thing that I had in my head was, what have I done? Oh my God. Like I had to learn how to love her lah, basically. So thankfully Aki's a natural with kids. So he was very helpful in that sense lah. So having her was more of like a self-discovery of myself. So I thank my daughter for being in my life because it allowed me to go deeper into myself, to understand more about myself.
To know that you're actually capable of loving
and
a budak.
yes, exactly. And also she made me want to be a better person basically. So there were a lot of when we talk about mental health, about working through your shadows. So I think for the first 1 to 2 years of her life, a lot of it had to do with my personal development as well, alongside hers. Macam I know that it's my responsibility. I have to do it regardless whether or not I sayang ke, tak sayang ke, I had to do it. But the personal development that my family and my husband allowed me to undergo concurrently also helped in fostering the kind of love and relationship that I have with her today juga.
Having a child as a personal development, I can relate to that personally because I had an issue during pregnancy where my mental health spiked. So it went down. So macam I punya mood swing terus naik. So I had to take antidepressant again. During pregnancy sampai sekarang actually. So macam after the childbirth, the doctor and nurses memang dah pesan awal-awal, if anak nangis, bagi orang lain. Don't try to like overestimate yourself. Because they takut I snap.
At least you had like understanding doctors and nurses juga.
Thankfully
Dalam not like
kerajaan.
just judgmental ones ke yang macam
Dalam
kenapa
hospital
ibu
kerajaan. To be honest, the first 6 months, the first 3 months of her life, masa during confinement I don't really have that memory. Some people say that it is a symptom for PPD, but then I'm not diagnosed, so I pun tak tahu lah. Tapi macam memang I don't really have the memory. I cuma ada the videos, the gambar. So macam bila I tengok balik the video, macam bila benda ni jadi macam tu lah. So macam tapi it's okay. First 3 months memang I only pegang my daughter masa susu, masa nak tidur kan. And kadang-kadang main-main bila dia macam dah senyum-senyum sikit kan. Main-main dah. Main-main macam tu je. Other than that, dia nangis saya terus bagi orang lain because I pun takut.
You're afraid of what you might do because you understand yourself better kan.
So in our topic today, because it's about working mothers and I am a working mother as well. When I was pregnant, I told my husband, after give birth I don't want to work. I want to be the stay at home mom. Wow, kadang-kadang macam Montessori mom macam tu kan. I can only stand for 6 months. And then macam nak gila.
Kita ni je. You know, like I feel like there are a lot of people out there kan yang jenis macam like, oh kan elok kalau ibu duduk rumah and then semua and stuff like that. But honestly, it is a dream for me to be a stay-at-home mom. I wish I could be a stay-at-home mom. But the economy, so...
For one, the economy. For two, is my own mental health. Because I am not the kind of person... I think you can relate also, because I am the kind of person yang I cannot stick with routine. I cannot stick with routine. I have to do something.
Yes.
When the first 6 months of my baby, I memang macam benda sama. Bangun pagi, mandikan dia. I tak mandikan lah, tapi macam bangun pagi bagi susu. Lepas tu After 2 hours susu.
Yeah.
Macam penatnya.
When I was going through time pantang tu, I selalu kena marah dengan my mom because I jenis tak boleh duduk diam. So my mom was like, okay, you just sit in your room, let us bring the food to you, make sure you wear your socks, make sure you know like how
Pakai sweater.
macam all those things. Tapi I jenis macam lapar. Lepas tu I turun naik tangga. So my mom was like, she was very hey, budak ni degil pula. Like I'm telling you to take care of yourself, but you're not taking care of yourself. But I'm just there like, but I feel fine. Tapi padahal masih tengah pakai diapers ni. Yang sebab tengah darah tu kan, masih tengah pakai diapers. Still naik tangga pun macam tengah macam still lah, sengit lagi.
You dah lah normal birth kan?
Yeah, normal birth.
Takut.
Yeah, lepas tu, so at that point, like I jenis tak boleh duduk diam. So even if I'm just sitting in the room, for example, it's like, okay, you just sit in the room, you just relax. So I guess that was also one of the reasons why I don't mind taking up work from home. Because at least if I know, if I have to be locked up in a room, there's something that I'm doing. Sebab I takut bosan. I tak boleh nak bosan. Even though every 2 hours, yes, I nak kena jaga anak. But at the same time, I still need that mental stimulation juga.
It has to keep working.
Yes.
I mean, there was this one tweet before. She said motherhood is kind of boring. And then people were so mad at her for saying that. But
I wouldn't say it's boring. I guess it depends on how you view it as well. It's also very important, I think, for mothers to find that mental stimulation juga. Because yes, a lot of your time will be dedicated to your anak. But also at the same time, there are those pockets of moments you can still insert hobbies or the things that you enjoy doing. So I guess the bosan part would be the fact that you tak boleh keluar rumah, you tak boleh macam it's the same thing over and over again. And also like there are certain foods you cannot eat, there are certain activities you cannot do. A lot of the things yang you kena buat, at least physically, is very limited. But now in hindsight, when I think about it, I guess for me it wasn't boring because even though physically my movement was limited, I know for a fact that I did something to ensure that I kept my mind stimulated at all times. So whether it was starting work, reading, drawing, writing, or whatsoever, at least I know there was something that I'm constantly doing. Because I don't
remember
want...
you were drawing kan masa like after Akila was born.
Yes, I was drawing, writing. I
remember your illustration.
Yes. So those were like some of the things that I did within the pockets of moments of free time yang ada lah. Like when she's asleep, when I'm not pumping, or bila I'm not doing anything kan. So if I'm not asleep from being tired, then I'm probably or just relaxing, watching a show, because I know, okay, this is my time. I tak pergi mana-mana, I duduk rumah. So I can catch up with all the shows that I want to watch, all the books that I want to read. So I think it's also important for mothers to have that mental stimulation as well. Motherhood is boring if you do not work on yourself. So I truly believe that motherhood does not change who you are at your core. Like just because you dah ada anak, it doesn't mean there are all these things yang I dah tak boleh buat ni, I dah tak boleh buat tu, I nak kena like 24/7, I nak kena fikir pasal anak I je. I guess lucky for me juga, I have a family and a husband that understands that I am my own person. So I've already established who I am amongst family and friends, even in front of the eyes of Malaysians, for example. Like I've already established who I am as a person. So they know that motherhood will not take that away from me, and they don't want motherhood to take that away from me. That kind of support was also, it really helped a lot in especially the first year of Akila's life.
So what would you say, like there's a societal pressure around working mom that says that once you have a kid, no more work for you. Your personal ambition or professional ambition will not be that important, I guess. Your life should revolve around your own child.
I do not agree with that. As a child myself, my mom, for example, before she had me and my siblings, she was working. And then it was only after she gave birth to my brother, which is the oldest among all of us, that she decided macam, okay, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And then my dad pun macam was supportive lah. He's like, okay, I'm going to work hard to make sure that I can support you and the family so that you can just duduk rumah. So now that I'm a mom, and when I think about it, before my mom had us, she probably had her own dreams. She probably had her own ambitions as well before she chose to dedicate all of her time to homemaking, to becoming a mother and things like that. And now that I'm grown and I'm a mother myself, I do wish that she had pursued it some way or another. My mom macam, she's still like, oh, actually she didn't reach that point in her life to the point where she knew what she wanted to do, but she knew she was working because she wanted to earn money. As a child myself, looking at my mom and knowing that she is a whole person before our existence, that she gave up to take care of us, it made me realize that I guess I don't want my daughter to feel that kind of guilt as well. A lot of people say macam, a lot of people put pressure on the moms, like, oh, you have to stay home, you have to stay home, you have to stay home. But the guilt that it will have on the anak juga, like it's something that you have to think about. So people will say macam, oh, kau tak fikir pasal anak, tapi I seorang anak, I am a child myself, I am a daughter, and I know the things that my own mother gave up to raise us, which now when I'm older, I wish she had pursued it. I wish she had still held on to her hopes and dreams and whatever it is that she wanted to do, because at the end of the day, we are going to grow up. We are going to have our own lives. And then what about her? You know, I don't crack under that societal pressure, because at the same time, I want to be able to become a mother that my daughter can look up to, where she can be like, oh, times were hard, but damn, my mom did that. You know, so if she can do that, I can do that. Yeah, you know?
Yeah, nice. With regards to that, kan, you mentioned something about you as a daughter, you felt guilty about your mom had to give up her dreams. How about your guilt as a mom? You know, the mom guilt. Like sometimes bila macam you nak dating husband. You nak dating husband. Tak nak lah bawa anak. Tapi macam you rasa bersalah lah tinggal
dia. I feel mom guilt all the time. And actually, one of the biggest things that I feel guilty for, and this is not new to anyone, and apparently now everyone else is going to know also. One of the things yang I paling rasa bersalah to my anak is actually giving birth to her here.
In Malaysia.
In Malaysia. Out of all the places, it's here. Because I didn't really have the best upbringing dekat sini, because I was born and raised in Singapore before I moved here. And it was only when I moved here that I experienced macam getting ostracized, discrimination, and then you've seen the kind of hate that I've gotten on Twitter before or online, you know. Knowing that I gave birth to her into this kind of environment, up until today, I still feel that guilt. At the end of 2022, actually, my husband and I we were already filling out documents to immigrate, to move out of Malaysia, because I wanted a better life for her. But then we changed our minds. I kind of took a step back and we didn't move forward with that visa. Like I mentioned, I am my parents' child. So I have my responsibility to them juga. I feel strongly towards wanting to jaga dorang, but also wanting to jaga her as well. I'm juggling between, I want my parents to have a good life and also wanting her to have a good life, which puts me in that position where I continuously work hard for the family, because if I can earn enough, or if I can provide a good childhood for her here, a good education for her dekat sini, then at least she has a chance to move out, even if I have to be the one to stay here, because I nak jaga I punya family. Now that's the way that I'm approaching the situation, where I'm going to work as hard as possible as I can right now, so that my daughter will be able to spread her wings and fly wherever she wants to. But right now, if this is where she has to grow up, I will make the best out of the situation because she also needs her grandparents juga. It takes dia cakap it takes a village It takes a village to raise a child. Yes, yeah.
You mentioned that you have to work hard on that. So I'm assuming that as a creative director kot, of course you will be busy. And I nampak juga that you with the recent campaign to Gaza kan. How do you manage your time?
Oh, that's where the whole it takes a village to raise a child comes in. When people talk about raising a child and having a family, the conversation is very siloed, where basically you take that small family unit and then you view it outside of a community tau. So I think that's the first mistake that a lot of people do. Where diorang rasa macam they only look at it as like mother, father, anak. They don't look at it as
Auntie,
a wider
uncle.
as like the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents, semua ada. I was born and raised in a very, very close-knit family. And lucky for me as well, I got married into a family that is also very, very close. So my husband's family, they're very close to one another. My family, we're very close to one another. So then when me and my husband got married, then kita punya dua family, kita pula jadi very, very close to one another. The conversation of like, oh, how do you manage your time? Semua, it might sound selfish to say this, but she has people around her because my husband and I, kita punya working shifts are different. So I work the usual 9 to 6. He works dia punya tak fixed. So every few months dia akan tukar hari tau. Like sometimes Saturday, Sunday dia cuti, sometimes Wednesday, Thursday. So dia macam tukar-tukar tau dia punya cuti. But his timing also changes. Sometimes pagi, sometimes we get the same shift. But then sometimes dia pun
night shift.
Like 3 p.m. to 12 a.m. So not only does she have her father with her, at the same time, she has my family. She also has his family. So it might sound selfish to sound like, oh, tak apa, it's okay. Dia punya grandparents ada, dia punya aunties, uncles ada, semua and things like that. But that is the reality. The reality is that if you were to look at it, kita ni, human beings, we are social creatures. So if you view your family unit as separate from a larger community, then that's where all the problem comes in. Where you're like, oh, macam mana kita nak jaga anak kita? Because you don't have a community that you can trust. So I already have that community that I can trust. Even before I got married, there was a community that I already boleh trust. I know if I were to bring a new life into this world, it is the same community yang akan sambut dia, yang akan jaga dia, that will ajar her, take care of her, protect her and things like that. We manage our time as a community, not just as husband and wife. If my parents, for example, they want to go overseas or they have to go out of state, for example, they don't make that decision alone and then after that they just leave. They will come to us and they say, okay, this is what's going to happen. We are not going to be home. We are going to will you guys be okay? It happens for all of us, for my husband's family, for my family, our own little family. We make decisions together. The most important part is having a community that you can rely on. So how I manage my time is that I discuss with this larger community, how are we going to do this? How are we going to who is available to jaga her if Umi and Abah tak ada? Okay, kalau Lola is what she calls my husband's mom. Okay, so kalau Lola dengan abah dia from that side tak ada, who boleh jaga? Ada aunties, uncles dia. And I also have friends who are already parents who are just waiting for me to like, bagilah kita babysit. But thankfully, it's never reached a point where I needed extended help outside of family lah. So far, it stayed within family juga lah. That's how we manage our time lah. We discuss with family, and when I'm home, I spend as much time as possible with her. I try my very, very best to not bring work home. So even if I balik kerja lambat sekalipun, whether it's 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., I will make sure whatever it is, when I walk out of that door, work is not following me. So that when I'm at home, I can just focus on Akila or my family. It's also important for me to be able to I have to jaga I punya masa kerja juga. Like I need time management for work so that I can manage time at home. And then at the same time, there's also that larger community that's helping me out juga.
During your work itself, I mean macam since you memang office work kan, macam I is shift work. As a customer service, you log off memang habis, tak ada dah. You tak payah fikir dah. So that's why I went into customer service because macam I tak suka bawa kerja balik. Even though I have a degree in accounting, I know how accounting memang 24 hours. So that's why I lari customer service. Even with shift work pun, you still have like follow-ups to do and all kan. So I will make sure that I finish everything within my shift, no OT for follow-ups or whatever, balik.
Yes.
So for you, since you office work and as a creative director pula you banyak
a lot of it extends outside of office hours juga. Yes.
So how do you make sure that everything is
within the office
hour?
So people always talk about work-life balance, kan? For us, at least for my team, we call it work-life integration. Okay, it sounds very much oh my god, work is integrated into your life. It sounds very chaotic and very depressing that work is integrated into your life, but that is the reality of how it is. Working as the creative director, I also sometimes have to work weekends, like meetings and things like that. But when it comes to macam laptop work, like where I have to actually type and do something like reporting, having to do decks and things like that, those are the things that I reserve for only in the office. Tapi when it comes to macam, hey, can we jump on a call? Or having to respond to messages, WhatsApp or whatsoever, benda-benda macam tu I don't mind, because I can always be like playing with her on one side, tapi nanti I reply, sambung. So those kind of things that extend outside of work, if it requires my mental, where it's just mental and it's not physical, I don't mind. I tak kisah, because work has already extended. It kind of has started encroaching into my personal life juga. It's never really bothered the time that I've had dengan my family juga, unless it's those kind of really macam tiba-tiba last minute, alamak, the deck needs to be done right now sebab esok we need it or something like that. Then benda macam tu I can make certain exceptions lah. But for the most part, I don't define myself by my job, but also my job is already integrated into my life. So when it's integrated into my life, I don't try to fight it, basically. I don't try to macam like, oh murahnya, kenapa banyak kerja, where I've learned to kind of accept it in stride. Interestingly enough, and luckily, Akila also comes to the office.
Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
She comes to the office. So there are certain times when my parents are not at home, and then my husband has a shift that overlaps with me. And then I'm like, okay lah, nak buat macam mana? You're coming to the office with me. So she comes to the office.
So I'm assuming here that your office is children friendly.
They don't make it children friendly, but they're like, okay lah, she's allowed to be here. So dorang semua layan her, and then so she knows how to layan herself, right? Where she has her games that she plays, she has her shows that she watches, and she likes to be around adults. Dia suka cakap dengan orang kan. So sometimes I could be in a meeting, dia tengah duduk dekat luar dengan my co-workers. Dia yang tengah bersembang. And they're fine with having her there. So the kind of work that you have is also important. A lot of it has to do with pre-planning. So because I know this is the kind of work that I'm doing, it's very important for me to know where I'm going to work as well. So I'm very picky about the places that I choose to work at. When I had Akila, there was that one time I was working in an agency, for example. But then this particular agency work, I remember it was really, really taking a toll on my mental health, because I did not feel was fulfilling for me. And then on top of that, I had the whole like, I was still learning how to love Akila. I was still struggling with motherhood, so many things like that. I knew this job is not for me. So I left that job. And I moved di tempat lain. So I kept moving jobs until I found a place where I knew this could be my extended village. Funny enough, Zeus Coffee has turned into one of those villages for Akila juga.
I see.
Yeah, so everyone loves her. They're very accepting of her. Akila has reached the point where she's also like, can we go to the office? Can we go to Zeus? Like, she could name my co-workers by name because that's how much she enjoys being around them. So for me, the place that I choose to work in is also very important because work and life is already integrated for me. I need work that can also gel with life. So if I already found this tempat kerja that Akila also loves, then I know I found a village outside of home already. So I'm happy lah.
So right now, Akila is not in a play school or anything?
No. So we are mostly homeschooling her. Sometimes I pun sendiri terkejut when I come back home and then tahu-tahu she knows a new word or something. I'm macam, where does she learn this? Sometimes kita pun tak tahu
I can
mana.
relate.
Yeah. So like kids, they catch up very fast because she has a village with her. So she learns very quickly. She's always active. She's always learning. She's always stimulated. So I'm not very worried in that sense. But of course, me and my husband, we are also still making arrangements lah, wanting to send her to play school. We're still making those arrangements. It's just at this moment, we don't have to worry too much about it because she is developing at a steady pace as she should be. And at the same time, she has people around her who is helping her develop juga.
Actually, my next question is about economical pressure. Most companies lah. I mean, aside from Zeus, this is not sponsored by Zeus, by the way. Maybe soon, kan?
Boleh?
Okay,
we can
boleh.
try, yeah?
You are the creative director anyway. So, okay, I dulu, as during my previous job, memang susah for me to like, take an emergency leave. There was a time masa I kat hotel, masa tu the whole house kena COVID. The whole house kena COVID. I can duduk dengan my parents and my siblings semua ada lagi. And masa tu close contact dah tak payah quarantine.
Yeah.
The only one yang tak kena COVID is me and Sania.
Oh,
So
no.
I have to be the one yang jaga dia. So masa tu it was quite hard for me as a working mom. Dah lah I pun pumping juga dekat kerja.
Yeah.
But it's a hotel, you have to wear uniform and the uniform does not accommodate to
like
pumping.
senang buka. Yes. Yeah.
You zip kat belakang. Dress pula tu. Celah mana kan. So after I start working, memang susu pun dah kering. Tak adalah kering, dia dah kurang kan.
I start kerja pun susu start kurang. Yes.
Kan?
Yeah.
So macam for me, working is quite hard sebab I susah nak ambil cuti. Bila macam anak I katakan tiba-tiba dia sakit ke, kena masuk hospital ke, kan. Balik kerja tu mula kan.
Yeah.
I assume Zeus tak macam tu lah because from what you say, you siap boleh bawa anak pergi office apa semua. But as a mom or maybe as a spectator, yang you nampak our culture, our work,
culture,
yes, our corporate culture in Malaysia is not supportive of mothers.
Yes, I do see that a lot. That's also one of the reasons why I mentioned to you yang I was job hopping so many things like that, because it took me quite a while to actually find a place yang I knew could accommodate me in that sense. That's also one of the biggest problems that I have with corporate culture. One of the things that I always say is that I wake up angry every day to labor under capitalism. So I think you pernah tweet tu. So I think of that all the time because it's like corporate culture to me, it's ridiculous. I don't like corporate culture. Yes, Zeus is corporate culture, but it's still renggang a bit though. Macam they still make certain exceptions. So they still allow space for discussion, for accommodation and things like that. I'm thankful in that sense that even though I am so anti-capitalism and I hate corporate culture, I'm thankful that my employees, they are human in that sense, where they're willing to sit down, listen to you, they have empathy. So that's the thing that I'm very thankful for when I'm working in Zeus. But I have seen people who macam susah nak ambil cuti and things, and I think this is something that corporate culture needs to change, because how do you expect women who desire to become mothers to do that if corporate culture exists like this. It puts women in a position where you have to choose one or the other, which only reinforces the societal pressure and the mentality that people have. Oh, kalau kau jadi mak, kau nak kena duduk rumah. Because the idea that they have of corporate culture is probably that. Yang susah nak ambil cuti and things like that. But not all places macam tu. So that's why there are certain mothers who can go so high up in the corporate ladder but still be good mothers at home. You know, because the corporate culture that she is in is very accommodating to her. Unfortunately, the vast majority of corporate culture is very unaccommodating, especially towards mothers, families, fathers also kadang-kadang. When the vast majority of corporate culture is like that, and then most people are within that kind of corporate culture, then that's how the mentality within society where orang jadi macam you have to choose one or the other. It's like a feedback loop. It just keeps going on and on and on. The real question is, who needs to change here? Should women stop giving birth? Or should
Baru
corporate
je
culture...
dia orang marah hari tu sebab birth rate kita turun. Kan? But yeah, our birth rate turun is probably because of this. Could be one of the reasons juga. Because you are not accommodating to mothers, then how are we supposed to become mothers?
Exactly, yeah. Because a lot of women today are educated, where they have a college degree, a university degree, masters, PhD or whatsoever. Takkanlah benda tu nak letak gantung je. Obviously, you want to pursue something. That's why you studied it in the first place. So now there's that feedback loop of like, if corporate culture is like this, it's not accommodating towards mothers. But then women also want to be able to earn money because the economy is so... Can I curse?
Yeah.
It's so shit, you know? So like, there's that confusion because then women have to start thinking about like, okay, if I want to become a mother and I have to take maternity leave, I punya backlog of don't know how many months tu nak kena siap. And I have to make sure in these next few months yang I maternity leave, I ada cukup duit. But then the economy is so bad. So your duit asyik keluar macam air. So you never get to save up enough. So macam mana? And then you have a husband that's also struggling from a dual income household. You become a one income household. That's the thing yang when people put societal pressure on mothers to choose, be a stay-at-home mom or work. Tu je. But there are all these other things, all these other factors that come into play that you have to think about. People are so easy to pass judgment, but they don't understand the reality of your situation. They don't know what you're going through. They don't know whether you have a village or not to help you. You know, but like benda-benda macam tu. Now, the real question is, what needs to change? Should women stop giving birth? Stop becoming mothers?
Maybe.
Or and have people complaining that our birth rate is low? Or should corporate culture change? Mothers don't have power to change corporate culture. It's corporate culture that needs to change corporate culture. That's the problem. Tapi majikan pula banyak yang lagi pentingkan duit. That's the problem.
Kita ada dua. Either mothers women stop giving birth or corporate culture change. I think corporate culture can change, but only if the, yang atas sekali tu nak change. Because I think Google as a company, also not sponsored, Google as a company, but tak tahulah dekat negara mana, yang actually have everything in the office.
Macam childcare.
Yes, they ada childcare, they ada lobby, they ada pusat servis kereta. Everything. So that your employee tak payah nak keluar daripada office or take leave just to settle all those things.
Yes.
You can do that if you want to. Nak tak nak je lah.
Yes. And the problem is Google is it's a huge company. So Google is able to do things like that. But a lot of the corporations that we have in Malaysia, for example, we can't say like dorang adalah sampai tahap Google or something like that. But if you were to take steps to start working towards happiness and personal growth of your employees, that's already a good step to take. Zeus tak adalah sampai Google punya tahap. But they allow me to bring Akila to work if I have to.
And at least you have work from home as well, kan?
Yes. Like so, if I were to text, basically on paper it is 9 to 6, but still it is up to the discretion between you and your bosses. You can still discuss. Macam, okay, on this particular day I have this emergency. Is it okay if I'm working from home? And then if your boss says, okay, then okay lah. But let's say if you have macam kalau there's a
Meetings ke.
particular meeting that is very important and stuff and you are required, then macam that is a conversation that you can have. Even though on paper, yes, they cakap 9 to 6, you have to be in the office. So, mana boleh, memang every single day, I try to be in the office. Because that is what is required of me. And I also know that there are a lot of things that I need to do in the office. But I also know that there is that option. If there is an emergency, I know my bosses are human. I know they have empathy. As a boss myself, as someone who is a manager myself, if one of my subordinates were to come up to me and say, I have a family emergency right now, like in the middle of a work day, right now I have a family emergency, someone was to hospital or whatsoever. As a mother who also requires my workplace to accommodate me, I would say, no questions asked, just go. Just make sure everything is fine. Just make sure the handover is done. We will take it from here. Whatever you need to do with your family, whatever emergency that you need to settle, you settle. It's okay. If anyone's watching this and you are a manager or a boss or whatsoever, I guess the change also starts with you. Where you have to understand you punya employees and their lives, that they have their own separate lives outside of work as well. So if corporate culture can't change as a whole, then you know that you can be the one that brings the difference into that culture.
What kind of pressure yang they shove to you that you are affected?
From my workplace, actually tak ada.
The
Tak
current
ada,
one.
because they all love Akila, right? So if they know that if I say, oh sorry I can't make it because there's no one at home to take care of Akila, most probably they're just like, bawa je lah. So even with work, I don't have any pressures from work in regards to my own motherhood. Dengan my family and friends, lagi lah I tak ada. A lot of it comes from strangers. That is
Strangers
also
on the internet.
Yes, that is also one of the reasons why kalau you perasan ada tak aktif sangat online. Because it is so easy for people to misinterpret and misconstrue what it is that you say. One of the things that I remember very, very vividly was how I remember I wrote a thread on Twitter. Masa tu Twitter lah, sekarang dah X kan. So masa tu I remember I wrote about how I resigned from a particular workplace because I wanted to focus on my mental health and on family. Sebab time tu Akila masih kecil lagi. So this was the one yang I cakap I kerja dekat agency and it didn't feel fulfilling to me what I was doing. So the thread that I wrote was actually talking about how majikan yang baik ni is actually a blessing in itself. I am so grateful and so thankful for compassionate employers, for kind employers who understand my situation. Like I was just, because at that point my heart just felt so full. I rasa macam, oh, I'm so grateful lah. Macam I so berterima kasih. Like I macam to the point where I was so moved to tears that she gave me kind words before I left semua kan. Lah pula benda jadi lain. Like it started going around where people started saying like, oh look, she is resigning sebab dia nak jadi isteri mitali, duduk rumah, dia tak nak kerja lagi.
Feminist dah jatuh.
Feminist dah jatuh. Dia dah tak jadi, tengok feminist pun sekarang tahu what is the importance of being a stay at home mom. I'm like, where is all this coming from? I didn't say I stopped working completely. I didn't say I was becoming a stay-at-home mom. I literally was just saying I'm thankful for my employer because I resigned and she was kind to me and she understood my situation. Like, where is all this coming from? And they were like, oh yalah, itulah nak dengar kata suami, now she didn't. I dah macam, what? Like, since when have I tak dengar kata suami? Like my husband has never been like, kau kena duduk rumah.
Betul.
And then like I never said that. Like I've never said yang, oh I want to stay at home because
husband I suruh.
I never said that. And then suddenly everything just got twisted around and everyone's like, oh look, feminist bonda. And then I dah macam, excuse me? Like I don't know. Like don't use me to push whatever narrative it is that you're trying to push because it's not the same thing langsung. Macam relax guys. Like at this point you are just projecting. I never said anything about not wanting to work anymore. I never said anything about wanting to like be a stay-at-home mom. I wish I could be a stay-at-home mom. I wish.
It's actually being a stay-at-home mom is also quite draining. It's
It
mentally
is.
draining.
Yes, it is.
So
Mm-mm.
that's half of income, half of mental health.
It is.
Like,
Being a stay-at-home mom is very draining, and I know because I am staying in the same house with my parents, and my mom is a stay-at-home mom, and she never stepped out of that role though. So even though we are all grown-ups, kita semua macam we are all married, you know, I dah ada anak sendiri semua and stuff like that, but she's still in that role where she's like, apa nak masakkan untuk korang? Apa nak but I'm like telling her macam, Umi, relax. It's okay.
Tak nak masak, kita boleh order.
It's exactly. I cakap, it's okay. We are grown up, so we know how to look for food. I cakap, tak apa. The only thing I need for you to do right now at this age is relax. Just breathe.
Main dengan cucu.
Just breathe. Just breathe. Main dengan cucu. That's it.
Okay. There's this one stereotype that says perempuan ni bila dah kahwin, dah ada anak, dia kerja sebab takut cerai.
Sebab takut cerai?
Dia kerja so that dia ada income. So nanti bila cerai, tak ada isu.
Okay. So the thing is, pasal about that, I don't think that is the intention of working. That is just one of the bonuses of working. We don't work because we are scared of divorce. We work because we want to work. We work because the economy is shit. We work because we have hopes and dreams, aspirations, ambitions. But the bonus that comes out of it is that if anything were to happen, I can take care of myself. That's it. But people like to twist it. Why are people twisting it? To say macam, oh, kau kerja sebab kau takut cerai. What? Okay, you always need a plan B. Obviously, you always need a plan B. You always need to be prepared in case of emergencies. That's why we have savings. Betul tak? So it's the same thing applies here. It's not that you are anticipating that a divorce will happen. It's just that just in case, you might never know, because you cannot predict human behavior. That's the thing. Because your husband could be the best father for the first 10, 15, 20 years of your marriage, for example. And then suddenly, he becomes deadbeat. You might never know. You know, like, you cannot predict human behavior. Like, people daripada jahat boleh jadi baik, orang yang baik boleh jadi jahat. It's more of a just in case kind of thing. But it is not the first thing that is in your head. It is not the first thought in your head yang, oh, at least kalau apa-apa jadi, aku ada duit, aku boleh lari. No working mother is working and like anticipating divorce in her head. Like,
I think as a working mother myself, the first thing that I do, the first reason I have is that, I nak beli mainan kat anak I.
Yes.
That's the first, as a mother.
Do we have enough money to put food on the table? Like, that's the first thing that's in your head. Not, what if suami aku tinggalkan aku? Like, honestly, if you're an independent working mother, your husband leaving you is also like the least of your concern.
Kisah pula aku.
Kisah pula. Angkat lah. Macam mana? Yeah, sure, I'll be crying and heartbroken for a while, but after that, okay.
Bye.
Duit aku. You know, aku tak hilang apa-apa. I just maybe like, just heartbroken. Macam tu je. It's more emotional than it is financial. You know, this is my theory lah. Misogynists who cannot accept the fact that women have grown independent and are no longer feeding in to dorang punya masculinity are using this because diorang tak boleh terima
that we are not depending on them.
Yeah, that we are not depending on them. And also that there are women who probably earn more than them as well. So in their heads, they start thinking like, oh, these women are doing this to spite men. Because the basis of their existence is to spite women. That's what misogynists are, basically. So they assume that working mothers also feel the same way. But working mothers are not married to deadbeat misogynists. That's the problem. So it's not your problem to think about. So you don't have to worry about it because me and my husband are fine. I married him because he's not you. Like, you know.
Yeah. I remember there's this one tweet about the misogynist lah. Yang dia kata, tunggulah feminis ni, nanti bila dah kahwin baru dia tahu kena taat suami ni. What makes you think we're gonna marry that kind of guy in the first place?
Exactly.
That's why we're feminists.
I taat je dengan suami I listen to him the same way he also listens to me.
Exactly.
Because we respect each other.
Yeah.
There is no dorang they don't want to lose the power dynamic.
Yes.
Yes.
They want to feel like they have, the authority in the marriage.
Yes.
But in my marriage, there's no such thing as, I suami you kena dengar cakap I can say the same thing. I bini you dengar cakap
Actually kan, more than anything, yang I perasan, actually the best type of man jenis takut bini.
Yeah.
Jujur jenis takut bini. Tapi macam like for me and my husband, for example, we see each other as equals. So I talk big about the whole independence thing, semua and stuff like that. But I am not the kind of wife yang jenis kalau I nak keluar rumah, I tak beritahu my husband. Because I respect him and he respects me. So whatever it is that we do outside of home, for example, like even because we understand we both have our own personal lives. So we have our unit as a family, and then we also have our own lives outside of that unit. So whether it's his work life, his personal life, kawan-kawan dia, and then I also have that same thing. I'm not the kind of person yang I nak keluar je lah. I want to buy something, I beli je lah. I still macam, Daddy boleh ke I nak pergi sini? And then he'll be like, okay, pergi je lah. Or if he has something on, he'll be like, I don't think boleh lah. And then we'll figure something out. Or if he wants to go somewhere, he'll be like, oh mami, I nak kena pergi ni. If I have to go somewhere, I'll tell him, oh alamak, I have to. Then we'll figure something out. So there's respect dekat situ. So all these macam misogynists who are trying to like pressure working mothers yang dorang macam like, nak biar nanti kau nak kena taat dengan suami, kau nak kena nenek. You don't know how my relationship is with my husband.
Yeah.
My husband knows more than anyone else that I do ask him for permission, that I do respect him, that I do jaga dia. You know, kita still manja-manja, kita still ada kita punya like, and then we ask each other questions, we still ask each other permission. It's not just from me to him, it is also from him to me, because we view each other as equals. But at the same time, he also still carries out his responsibilities as a husband and as a father. And I also do the same thing as well. But then it's always the outside world who does not know the dynamic of your relationship, who always has the most to say about it. And for me, personally, one of the reasons why I stopped engaging with these kind of people on the internet is because I started, at this point, you are just projecting. You're just projecting. How many times has it been exposed that a huge misogynist sebenarnya orang yang takut bini? Yang mommy issue, yang jenis macam wife earns more than him, yang all these things, has a better career than him. It's been exposed so many times, and all these people, they are all anonymous online, so at this point, if you're saying all these things, I'm just like, I'm not going to engage. I'm just going to assume that you got your ego and your fragile masculinity shattered because probably your wife is doing better than you. So you're not happy seeing other people do that.
Yep.
So you assume that other husbands with working wives also feel the same way. I don't know. It's a you problem. It's not a me problem. It's not my husband's problem as well.
Okay, we're happy with our life.
Exactly. Yeah.
We, us, feminists, we have very great husband.
Yes.
Yeah, memang very understanding. I mean, like in your case, you do ask permission, but in my case, he said you don't need to ask permission. You need to inform. So I pun macam, okay. So I will inform, but we still discuss.
Yeah.
Katakan I inform, I nak pergi sini. Tapi sorry, dia tak dekat rumah. Then we try something else.
Macam my husband, he doesn't require me to ask permission. It's me. It's
yeah,
me.
kita sendiri
kita
nak
sendiri
buat.
yang
Yes.
tanya. Yeah,
Like,
because there's macam I cakap lah, there's respect.
There's respect, yes.
Yeah,
macam husband I pun, he doesn't require me to macam, masak. Because I memang tak kerti masak. Husband I yang selalu masak kan. But sometimes kalau macam pagi I nak pergi gym, balik gym I akan masak. Buat bekal, buat. So dia pun macam, okay, sedap. And I took it to myself to make sure that I sampai rumah after, kalau macam I pergi gym lepas kerja, I akan sampai rumah before dia. Dia akan tahu macam, oh, I balik rumah, wife I dah ada kat rumah. Macam tu tau.
Yeah.
So there's one time yang I terlambat. Kita orang sampai sama-sama. Tak ada pun dia marah ke apa. But he was like, kenapa lambat? Macam tu je. Kenapa you lambat? Selalu dah ada
sebab
kat
dia
rumah.
dah biasa
Dia dah
nampak you
biasa
kat rumah.
macam tu. Because I want to be the one yang sambut dia. I mean, tak adalah sambut as in I tunggu depan pintu
Yalah,
but
at least
I will at least macam
be the one to open the door.
yes.
Welcome home.
Tak adalah open the door. I macam at least I dekat depan TV.
Yes,
At least I
yes.
dekat depan TV. Hi, dah balik. Okay, itu je.
Yeah.
I akan make sure by the time husband I balik, anak dah siap apa semua, I akan tunggu depan TV. Sambil-sambil tengok TV, dia masuk kan. Pergi dah. I akan bagi tahu anak I, oh, daddy's home. Dia pergi lari. Itu
Like we have kita punya own arrangements, our own understanding. Like basically, I guess what a lot of people fail, a lot of these misogynists fail to grasp is the concept of respect between husbands and wives. Tu yang diorang macam like tak faham. Macam my mom sekalipun, she is a stay-at-home mom ni. She's not even a working mother. She's been a stay-at-home mom for like the past, don't know how many donkey years, 38 years, like lama gila. But even then, my dad says, yes, I am the head of the household, but Umi is the neck. So the head only follows wherever the neck turns. So you see, so there's already that sense of respect. They assume that, oh, women want to become working mothers or like working wives because they want to have like some sense of authority, some sense of rasa power.
Sebab dia nak pijak laki dia.
Nak pijak lelaki dia whatsoever. Lah, my mom is a stay-at-home mom. My dad still listens to her. She taat with my dad. My dad also listens to her. Like this, respect is a two-way street. So if you're saying that women are working, like if they're working, it means dorang nak pijak suami or they want to establish authority over dorang punya suami. What does that say about how you view working stay-at-home moms? How do you view them? You view them as weak, senang untuk dipijak, senang untuk manipulate, which is, it's such a twisted way to think. Because in your head, you're like, dorang kalau kerja nanti perempuan akan jadi this certain way. Lah, who's to say if they're only staying at home, they won't be like that juga?
Betul? Maybe to them, they don't understand the concept of respecting each other. They want wife to respect husband. But husband don't have to do the same. That's why they orang selalu macam, projecting their insecurity. Cakap, oh ni kalau macam ni. We're not gonna marry people like you.
Yeah, you can just relax. There are some people out there who get married simply because they want a spouse. So whether it be a wife or whether it be a husband, but your husband or your wife is not necessarily your friend. So lucky for us, we got married to people who we can consider our best friends. For my parents also, they can say the same thing. It's sad because there are certain people who you boleh nampak where the wife is just a wife. The husband is just a husband. There is no friendship dekat situ.
Tak boleh jadi member.
Dia macam like friends, like how friends are.
Even me and my husband pun kadang-kadang kalau macam kita orang like kata-kata tengah bincang. Kita tengah bincang serius-serius ni. Lepas tu tiba-tiba dia buat lawak. Husband suka buat lawak bodoh.
Sama
I pandang ni kan, bro, can you not? and then nanti anak I, bro.
Sama pun.
We would do that. I mean, we would do that. And then nanti mak I macam, hey, apa panggil laki macam tu? Macam, lah, that's our dynamic.
Me and my husband memang we always like take jabs at each other. Memang always macam we tease each other a lot lah. To the point where sometimes even our daughter joins in. Like it's reached the point where me, him, dengan kita punya anak, kita 3 orang, kita dah macam the three musketeers, the three stooges. Kita ni macam the three stooges. Semua-mana kita fikir mesti ada je benda-benda bodoh yang terjadi. Like ada je ketawa.
3 idiots.
Yes, the 3 idiots.
Okay, so I guess that concludes our topic for today. Would you like to have a few words? Last words?
Yes. I would like to end by saying, if you are a stay-at-home mom, you are
superhero.
Champion lah. Memang lah. I am jealous. I wish I could stay at home. I could be a stay-at-home mom as well. But also, if you are a working mother, do not let society crack you. Do not let them pressure you into thinking that you are not being a good mother, because we all have our own struggles. Whether you are a working mother or whether you are a stay at home mom, at the end of the day, all of us still want the best for our child. And thank you for listening.
That's all for our episode today, Diapers and Dream with Shafiqah. Thank you so much, Shafiqah,
Thank you for having
joining
me.
me today, and with all the the wits and humor that you have. Okay, so thank you so much for everyone working from behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll see you again in the next episode. Bye.